Welcome to the Caribbean Property Investing Podcast, where we share real-life experiences for successful Caribbean property entrepreneurs. Learn about their successes, challenges, and strategies to help you create your plan for financial freedom. Now let's get started.
Welcome to episode 12 of Caribbean Property Investing Podcast. We want to thank you for your support thus far, and we invite you all to subscribe to our YouTube channel, download our podcast, and join the conversation. Today, we continue our series in Caribbean Women in Property in commemoration of International Women's Day and International Women's Month, March 2021. Today we have another special guest, Mrs. Suzette Merille-Alexander, who has a wide-ranging career from customer service to training to administration to paint supply, and of course, ultimately why we're here. She landed in property, but an all-around entrepreneur. So, Suzette, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much, Anselm, for having me here. I feel so privileged to be among the normal people embarking on property development. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. I guess we're all normal in our own right. Why don't you tell our
Yes.
audience and listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, again, my name is Suzette Merille-Alexander. I am an entrepreneur, a freelancer. I am more known for doing events and marketing in that arena for quite some time, but I also have my hand in process engineering in companies, customer service experiences, supervisory experiences, how to generally improve and impact, especially on small businesses. So this is my career path right now.
I know in our conversations, you moved from customer service training in a company, different companies, and then into, managing a paint supply store. How was that transition?
It was not really difficult. I am an artist. I have an appreciation for art in every respect. So moving from my business at the time, which was Maternity Corner, to managing an infinity a paint shop for paint coatings for households and commercial buildings wasn't so much of a brave transition. It did open my mind though to the technical aspects of paint coatings, its applicability, when it comes to the manner in which you use the products, from premium to low-end products, especially working in our climate, the best products and the best applications that could give you best results for your clients. It did warrant a creative outlook because you had to do consultations with customers, you had to go to their premise. You more or less will bring into life their dreams and their aspirations. So you more or less helping them make the vision a reality. So in essence, that's what was happening within the paint shop at the time. You had a lot of environmental growth happening at the time with the eco-friendly paints, less hazardous paints, low VOCs, the volatile organic compounds that are normally found in paints, because people were very much concerned or wanted to have more color in their house, but then sometimes the product you chose, the odor could be really bad. So understanding the trends happening in that industry was one of the most important things necessary to satisfying customers' needs at the time. So it was really an eye opener. I learned a lot technically, so it expanded besides what I knew personally, being an artist, because I would work with paints too, from murals to painting interior decor and so on. It did open up my eye to the industrial standards and aspects of paint coating. Yeah.
So while we have you here, I'm sure our audience would like to, to ask you a question about paint. So, generally speaking, how long should one coat of paint or one application of paint to your house? How long should it last you? How long can a normal person expect, a paint job on the outside of the house to last? How many years?
Okay, there is one critical thing here you have to consider, how dark or how light you go in selecting your paint. If you stick with the more pastel, bold, neutral colors, you can get your paint stain on your home as far as 10 years old. If you go, and it also depends on the premium quality of the product. Um, I would not advise someone to use an economical paint that is meant more or less based or meant to be used internally, interior, and use it on the outside of your home. You would expect wear and tear. You would expect that the color will deteriorate over time faster because it's not meant for exposure to the outside. So you more or less talking about paints that are more or less necessary for external use. And whether you choose a dark or light color, it determines how long it will remain on your your surface, your substrate. And if it's very dark, you can get wear probably around 5 years, 5 years, 4 to 5 years, thereabout. But again, it all depends on the contents or the makeup of the paint product.
And if it's light, how much time do I have?
If it's light, you can get a lifespan, I would say, let's say between 9 to 10 years. It could be less, but I think if you really um, select a paint that is probably not flat, that has a sheen, a satin-based finish. So what you are trying to avoid is accumulation of dust, especially on your surfaces. When dust is accumulated, then it makes the surface look um, much older than you wish it to be. If it's of a satin finish, then you know the rain and the waters will wash off the dirt, so it takes a longer time for that to
Wi-
for the
wi-
wear to
Without
show.
without knowing my situation, I would kind of validate what you just said. I went with dark gray for one of my buildings, and 4 years now, and it's fading. It needs replacing. So here's the question: tell us, Suzette, how did you first get into property?
Well, it was not okay. Of course, our traditional approach to life is that you start to work, you meet a partner, you have gotten serious, so you're embarking on that journey. And then the next step is to secure your first home. So that is what we actually did. We secured our first home, and actually, it's quite funny because the design we had initially, the house looks nothing like that at all. So we transitioned as we went along. We actually started off on cash, on pocket. So we built foundation to beam level on pocket, and then we went to the bank for a small loan. The topography of the land is slightly sloping. So we started ground level first. So we lived in the first level and then we built the top level. So it's
I
a
have a
two
question,
floor structure.
Suzette. So going back, so you bought the land a couple of years before, or as soon as you bought the land, you started building on it. How long before, and why did you choose that particular area?
Okay, so union at the time to me, I'm like that. I'm a visionary. I think I see the possibilities in something. in order to decide or make that decision to move forward. So Union to me appeared at the time as a growing community, commercially ready or soon to be ready, and that is what it has become. I mean, you have the cinema, you have a lot of ministry offices around that area. You have persons commuting more through Corinth, coming through Union, and vice versa. It's like a highway now. It is also where you have the Dame Paulette Louise school, so persons would see that as an opportunity, like a go-between area between the south and the north. I mean, you can get to any beach easily, you can get to any supermarket easily. It takes 10, 15 minutes to get to the north if you want to experience the nightlife. So it had potential. The cost per square foot was good at the time. It was $750 a square foot. And we saw the potential in in having property in this area. The community was not as occupied as it is now. But it was I would say a sought after community at this point. Even especially for rental properties.
So okay, so you got the land at a what I call a crazy price. I mean, that's a very good
Yeah.
price, under $8, back at that time. And you decide to do your home. But unlike most
Yes.
people who would do it on columns and live upstairs and build downstairs, you started ground level. Did you always plan to do 2 floors?
Yes. Yes, we always plan to do 2 floors. And I said earlier on, because of the topography of the land, the slightly sloping nature of the land, um, we felt it necessary to ensure that we had a space to live in, as opposed to putting what is traditionally done is put your house on pillars or stilts, as they call it, and you live on top. And what happens most times to persons, I mean, not knowing what the true intention is that the house are on stilts and nothing happens in the bottom, maybe for quite a long time. So then your integrity of your pillars deteriorates and so on over time.
Yep.
So we decided at the same time, because of the landscape, we had to put a retaining wall to actually get the first floor done. We lived in it, and whilst we were living in the first floor, we built the second floor.
And at that time, what was the vision for the number of units that you were thinking of?
Actually, we didn't have a vision. We knew we wanted a two level structure, a 2 level home. And then when we had completed the top level, we were living in it. We then said, okay, why not rent? We actually had a section of the house from the foyer that has the space for a spiral staircase or staircase to go downstairs, and we aborted it because we then said, okay, why not make the property an income generating property? And so we then started renting out the downstairs apartment.
Why did you all decide to make it an income generating property? As a couple, why did you all
Because
decide to do that? And who
the
and
house
who
has
brought up that
to
idea?
pay for one, the house has to pay itself. I am somebody who strongly believes, maybe more so now than I did before, but it was something ingrained in me that um, financial independence is important. And trying to minimize how much you owe the bank is very important. Um, and I think to ensure you have that freedom to be able to do other things is also important. Having to pay a mortgage for how many years until we're 65 is a very long stretch. So we found that because of the environment, because of the area we were in, we knew that it would be an apartment that would be in need. So we then decided to rent it. So we have been renting since. Without saying.
What were some of the challenges you guys encountered during the construction and the decision to move to the income suite?
Um, we did not really experience many challenges, but I would say understanding who you cater for, or who your ideal client is important. Because people have also their ideal vision as to where they would like to stay. We are below road level, so we have a driveway, then you have stairs to the house, and then you have stairs to the apartment. So, um, as much as you may want to rent your apartment, you have to market it for the right client. Knowing the age group, the age range of clients, and we did that through real estate agents. So they had to understand to the dynamics of the property and who the property or the apartment would be most suited to. So somebody who's agile, who wouldn't mind a few stairs, who understands that the who understands that the house is below road level. You cannot rent to somebody who's older and may have knee problems or so on, and promote it to that group of persons. It goes against the whole nature of what you're offering. So um, we didn't really have a challenge, but we also had to ensure that the way the property, the apartment was promoted, was directed at a certain niche clientele. So more
And,
younger
and,
persons, young and with a child or a young couple together. So this has been the range over the years.
at the beginning of the podcast, you said you happy to be, a normal guest, but normal people have lots of challenges. How did it might be good to maybe share the audience the quote unquote advantage that you may have in terms of your husband. But for most people, the biggest challenge they have is either financing, and secondly, the issue of managing costs and managing quality. But tell them the advantage that you have as a normal person.
Well, I have to say, very much so. That's a great point. My husband is a property manager, a contractor. He's involved in building. So it was the ideal marriage in partnership when embarking on this venture. Because the things that you would probably experience if you do not have somebody close to you who could look over the project, it could end up being quite detrimental. So, for example, understanding where to cut costs, understanding how to substitute materials. I mean, you have people who have expressed or experienced sandbags being put in their foundation. Because, yes, so of course that's something that's grave. Or using sand that's inferior, that's going to actually weaken the structure of your walls and your foundation. So with having a husband in construction, he could have avoided all of these pitfalls. You have a wealth of persons. He was on the team and he was there to supervise every aspect of the work, besides myself, of course. I need to say.
And having a husband who's in construction and property management, were there any clashes in terms of opinions and differences, especially in maybe layout or design?
Of course, definitely. But when you have been, when you cling yourself to home and garden, and that at that time, all of these home and garden shows were on. You were exposed to design and color and aesthetics and faucets and layouts and so on. Managing and trying to ensure that you stay on budget, um, could be a battle between partners. But the thing about it is that one of the advantages is that because he was aware of what's available on the market, material wise and so on, you can always find substitutes. And that's one of the advantages of understanding property development. You can have something looking like what you've seen um, without having to go through the extra expense of getting the more expensive product. So, yeah.
But there's always that statement made. All right. So you have choices. You have the more experienced material, more expensive material, sorry, and than the less expensive or the cheaper one. And there's a almost 100% linkage between lower cost, lower quality, higher cost, higher quality,
Yeah,
and we know that's not necessarily so. Um,
exactly.
what was your experience like in dealing with the selection of those substitutes, and is that your experience as well, that lower cost is typically lower quality?
No, I don't believe lower cost is lower quality. I do believe from more or less an aesthetic viewpoint, you may want a pewter faucet, but you may have to select a chrome faucet. It may not have been what you ideally wanted, but as long as it provides the same function, I think that is the most important thing. It's either you're going for luxury or you want to actually maintain function, but still creating that look, because there are different ways you can still maintain that look. The colors that you choose, staying within neutrals, choosing tiles that have a certain pattern, or they may just be flat base, but then depending on how you organize them and arrange them, they will still give you that certain that look that luxurious look that you want. Um, I do believe, and going back to your point, that cheap doesn't necessarily mean that you're buying something cheap. It's just that you being economical, you staying within budget, because at the end of the day, you do not want to have cost overruns. You may never finish the project. There are a lot of property that's out there that's not completed. We may not know why, but one of the greatest things is about cost overruns, going over your budget.
I, I'm thinking now, going back to our theme about women in property, I'm thinking, is that question even relevant to Suzette? Because, her husband is a contractor. But imagine yourself out of, that situation. And I know I'm making an assumption because maybe the
Yeah.
question is relevant to you. What is your take on women in property? And a woman listening, a lady listening right now, what advice you have for her? So two questions. One, how do you think women are treated differently, or are they treated differently? What's their experience like? And what advice you have for ladies looking at this in terms of starting out and how to get on the property ladder?
I think you should do what you feel. Um, the other thing I have learned is that ladies tend to form attachments to things. It is our fancy bags or our shoes or so on. I have learned to not put too much attachment to physical things. So much so during after we had built, we did purchase a second piece of property. It was a 5.6 acre lot, and we had it for some time, and then we sold it. It was a decision that I did not hesitate on with my husband. We sold it, and we made quite a profit on it. If I were a woman that hesitated and would be skeptical, um, you have to be prepared to take risks as a woman. Don't be fearful. Always do your research. Always gather as much information as you can. If it's from your bankers, if it's from a colleague you trust, if it's somebody who's an expert in the field, I would encourage women to take those chances. Uh, More so to because of our society and the mindset. Yes, we have a lot of women in high ranking positions in different industries and disciplines, but I think it's more or less to empower that girl in the schools who's leaving school to realize that she can achieve beyond just working for a company, that she can strive for financial confidence or financial freedom, um, by taking chances such as going into property development, especially in the areas of agriculture, especially in the areas of rental. I mean, the rental industry will continue to boom because people are looking for rental properties that feel like home. This is an opportunity for young ladies and women to go beyond what is the norm, go beyond what is the tradition of just owning a home and being satisfied with that. Take that step and take that risk to gain more freedom, so to speak.
Now, we typically we end here, but the question that we get over and over again is, okay, you can say you've done it, but you're not in my situation. You don't have the challenge that I have. And we
Correct.
recognize that everybody's circumstances are unique. Um,
Yes.
Somebody listening to this right now, and they want to buy a piece of land, Suzette. You said that you look for a specific area with some key amenities, school, highly traffic, up and coming, supermarket. And you said a new one, close to the various beaches. Um, can you tell the audience or people listening right now, some tips on how they can start with the piece of land before they even get to the house? Just some basic finance management tips that you employed.
Well, I we actually had gone when we acquired to acquire our land, the first purchase. We went to UDC at the time to see what was available. So I think it's very important to do the research and find out where there are any developments happening, what locations they are happening, what are the price points, what is the infrastructure that has been laid out, meaning whether it's accessibility to roads, you have your drainage, especially because you also have to watch for land slippage occurrences and so on. But you do the research, you ask questions to those various development entities, and you make your decision from there based on what you believe you are capable of investing in, what your financial stance is. That will be the first step. Information is key. I believe in data. If you do not have information before you can't make any decisions. And that is the first step that I would advise someone to take, to do that research.
Okay, one final question. Um, if you would change anything about the property journey and doing the income suite, what would you do differently?
I would have sold the house sooner. Um, yes, we have had the benefit of having an income generating flat. Yes, but I think because my mindset, I've always been somebody who loved um, property development. I love the idea of fixer-uppers. I love the idea of buying and selling. I would have started the journey a lot sooner, but it's never too late. And the takeaway also I like to give is that no matter what point in life you are at, if you feel that you're ready to embark on it, you do it when it's already.
You've been listening to Suzette Merille-Alexander. She calls herself a normal property investor. Quite a lot to learn from her experience. The fact that it was an extension to the house, which was not necessarily planned, but she saw the benefit of getting up to 80% of a mortgage paid, with always having the intention of not paying that full mortgage. Remember, you can join our conversation. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course on CaribbeanPropertyInvesting.com. Until next time, remember, everyone needs somewhere to live.
I love my community. It teaches you the importance of being together even through difficult times. Business owners doing their best to make it through. Fishermen and farmers working hard to put food on our tables. Nurses caring for the sick shows me who we are made of. People who care. I guess it's about growing together.
Congratulations and thank you for tuning in to the Caribbean's first property investing podcast. We want to help Caribbean people create wealth and achieve financial freedom through property investing. Our show provides general advice based on personal experiences and is for educational purposes only. For more information, resources, and past episodes, visit us at CaribbeanPropertyInvesting.com. Remember to click the subscribe button so you never miss a show. Let's go.